Okay, I think we are live in our final session. Hope everyone out there on the stage can kind of see us. Anyway, let me real quick welcome everyone to our final session of day one of Acuitycon. We have absolutely saved the best for last. So we're doing a very kind of special Drink While You Think with some very, very, very special guests. Because it's the end of the day here on the East Coast, at least in the U.S., and it's Drink While You Think, we do have another one of Kelly's special gifts for all the Acuity team members and the folks who got to grab the bag. If you would get in and grab your small little black bag, open it up, feel free to slap it on your favorite beverage of choice. Just thank you, Kelly, for sending us all these. All you wonderful presenters will be getting your swag bags coming. But go ahead and open those up again. Thank you, Kelly. We got a quick alteration we're going to make in our panel, partly because we found out that the stage can only hold 5 people. For some reason, a virtual stage has physical limitations to 5 people. It makes no sense. So we're going to have to try something where Nio Carter-Gray, who many of you saw in our sessions, I'm going to try to swap her in here in a minute if we can do it, Nio, and I'm going to jump out, and I'm literally going to let these amazing people moderate essentially their own session. Never been done before. But I guess let's kind of get to our panel real quick. One opportunity this pandemic did give us was that it's allowed us to bring people together from all over the world. And that's what we have here today. It's truly a gathering of some of the top minds in the profession from around the world to give us some insights into what they think could likely happen in the accounting profession. Here's the format of it, which is going to now change a little bit. I'm going to step out, but it's going to be just like our big presidential debate here tonight in the U.S., except hopefully a lot more, except more civilized, hopefully. Hopefully you're not going to want to throw your screen out the window like we all probably want to do here in the U.S. when we watch the debate tonight. So I'm going to step out and let each of these wonderful people who I'm so thankful for introduce themselves. They're going to tell us who they are, what they do in the profession, where they are in the world, and kind of what they're drinking. And we've got a bunch of questions for them to kind of answer. I'm going to jump out. Nio, if you're still there, see if you can jump in as soon as I jump out. Sorry for the complications. Thank you, all of you. And Heather, when I jump out, I'll let you kick it off with intros, and I'll chat with you guys from here. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much, Kenji. So I'll introduce myself first. My name is Heather Smith. I'm talking to you from Brisbane, Australia. I run a Zero Platinum practice, so that's sort of one of the cloud-based accounting softwares. I think you probably know about that. I'm very focused on talking about accounting apps, and I wrote Zero for Dummies and have a podcast called Cloud Stories. I'd like to hand over to the next person to introduce themselves. Jump in.
Who's that going to be, Heather? Shall I do it? Oh, Nio, come on, Nio, because you just survived. You do it.
Nio, who are you? What do you do? And where are you?
So I am Nio Carter-Gray. I am the owner and founder of First Step Accounting, located in Baltimore, Maryland, where we make accounting a little less taxing for small business owners all across the U.S. I am happy to be here. Some of you just came from my session talking about diversity and inclusion. I primarily run a QBO practice. I do also offer taxes as well as education and training. And that's enough about me. I'm here. I'm happy.
I will jump in. My name is Rachel Fish. I'm actually a product evangelist for Sage. Yes, there are other accounting softwares out there besides Xero and QBO. We've got desktop, we've got cloud connected, and we've got native cloud. Some of you may be familiar with Sage Intacct, which is a big seller in the US as well. I'm actually in Canada. So I'm in what's considered Silicon North, which is near Kitchener-Waterloo area. What else? I came from practicing background as well. So my job right before Sage was Deloitte, and then I had my own practice for a few years in the QBO world, was just about to get certified with Xero and jumped to Deloitte instead. So yeah, that's me. What did I bring to drink? So it's a little too late for coffee, but I brought Tim Hortons coffee and of course some Canada Dry. You like that? It's ginger ale, but it's still afternoon here. I've still got another meeting after this, so keeping it sober.
And the humor is dry as well on this call here. My name is Mike. My name is Michael Lee. I am CEO and founder of Reconciled, and I'm also Kenji's adopted son. That's about it. And I'm drinking water in this Reconciled water bottle because I started keto yesterday, so I'm just drinking water.
And I have to follow Michael, so somebody always gets a short straw. So my name is Will Farnell. I'm sitting, it's 8:15 in the evening in a place called Norwich in the UK. So I founded a firm called Farnell Clark in 2007. And I like to think we were the first 100% cloud practice globally back in 2009. We've been through a couple of cloud-based products in that time, but we've been doing this for a while. As you'd expect, I'm a Brit. It's the evening, and I'm drinking a cup of tea in the wrong cup because we're a zero firm. But Intuit were very kind with their freebies, so really pleased to be here.
Thank you so much, Will. So I'm going to ad hoc facilitate the session, and my style is I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to throw it to you guys and you get to answer it. And I have 60 seconds, I think, for answers in there. So be tight, be brief, be interesting, be funny. Yes, Michael.
That's so just when Nio starts talking. Just for Nio.
Michael thinks I can't keep my answers brief. Okay, so he's timing it.
We all want to hear from you, Nio. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So to you all, what existing services offerings are likely to die in the near future? Which accounting services are going to increase in value? For example, is compliance really dying and advisory taking off, or is that nonsense?
Nonsense. So I actually think that things are getting more regulated, as we've seen with government programs and funding over the last 6 months. If you don't know what you're doing on compliance, you don't have a practice at this point. That this is what people are needing help with. So first of all, I think that advisory isn't new. If you're an accomplished professional service provider, you are an advisor. So stop with this whole it's a new concept or it's a new word. If you're good, you're doing it. But you have to be strong in compliance, as we've seen. I think we're just getting more regulation and more of that. So yeah, you got to know your basics, right?
Yeah, if you want to save taxes like our president has, then compliance will always be here. So, I mean, yeah, there's always a place for compliance if the president can save this kind of money. So, I mean,
how long it was going to take to bring that up, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reality. And I mean, there are literally new tax practices, new bookkeeping practices, doing pretty still old school software, and those software companies aren't going away yet anytime soon. Sage isn't dying on the vine. They've still got a huge amount of desktop licenses being sold, and so is QuickBooks. It was Intuit. They're selling desktop licenses by the thousands, tens of thousands still. So I don't think it's going anywhere, and so it's going to be a long long while before it goes away.
I completely agree.
Yeah, for a long time, I kind of talked about. Go on, who's going?
Go ahead, Will.
Should I carry on? So for a long time, I
agree. So I primarily work
with. To get to a point.
So we've got a time lag here. We're going to go to Nio. Go to Nio, and then we'll come to you, Will.
All right. So I primarily work with smaller orgs, those micro businesses, and they need the most compliance work. It's not going anywhere. I completely think they value compliance over advisory more so. So it's not dying. It's not dying at all.
And Will?
Yeah, so for a long time, I talked about the fact that we wanted to do compliance for free on the basis that it was a marketing point, and I soon realised it was a pretty dumb thing to say. But it was the whole concept that actually, if we were managing clients' data and records right the way through the year, then the traditional compliance thing just kind of happens and falls out at the end. But it's really important that we have good quality data. Good advisory stems off the back of good compliance. And the big area of growth for us is actually doing more compliance and a broader set of compliance to the clients that we have, and that area of our business is growing hugely.
Thank you, Will. And it is good to recognise that you have thought processes and then you can actually change them. So well done to that. So what's the technology that you think is overhyped? What's a tech that more accountants need to know about?
I jokingly call AI, AI Asian intelligence in the marketplace here, because basically AI is a bunch of Asian people in a calling center doing all the accounting work. And so that's overhyped, right? But there are real Asian people doing work, so that's not hyped at all. And I think more people are going to be doing that, and probably more people should consider doing that. And so, so I think that AI is overhyped. I think that most of us have seen AI fall short to what it's promising. And we've also seen misleading companies completely lie to us about their AI. And we all know who they are, right? So that's the truth right now. So it's overhyped, but also the truth of it is it's really people working 24/7 at cheaper prices.
Yeah, I was going to make the same point about the overhype is definitely in some of this kind of automation. I look at a lot of that seems to be coming from the US, and I look at things like pricing of some of these tools, and actually we're delivering those services to our end clients cheaper than these providers are charging the accounting firms. So it's like there's something wrong in their AI processes if we can do it with UK based staff cheaper than apparently robots in the Philippines or wherever they're based.
Anything else to add there, Rachel or Nayo?
I think that I'm glad that blockchain hasn't been said right now, because I think that actually shows just how overhyped it was. We don't even bring it up anymore. It's like, whatever. I do agree with AI with everyone else. And we might get into some more specifics later on in the questions, I think, in that.
I know one thing that gets on my nerves are proposal apps. Like,
way overhyped. Them proposal apps are terrible.
Yeah, I love the convenience of them, but it's just like, why? It's so expensive. So I get we love our automation, but if it's one thing that could be integrated with something else, it would for me be a proposal app.
Yeah, the number one proposal app right now in the accounting profession is still Microsoft Word. It still dominates the proposal process. It is.
And Microsoft Excel is still the number one bookkeeping solution in the world as well. And I still can't believe you guys are still using checks. I mean, what's that all about?
Yeah. It's spelled with a CK. It's a CK, Rachel.
Yeah.
I don't know this.
Rachel, you're spot on. You've got it right. That's how you spell check.
Heather, what do you think? What do you think is overhyped right now, Heather?
Oh yeah, she's the app queen.
I love anything with AI in it, but I totally hear what you're saying, and it's happy with your answers.
I love Asian people too, but I don't want them to go to it either.
I was interested to hear what you had to say, because I always like to try something and bring it in or push it out there. So so
let me love all the apps. I'll try everything.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a distinction. I think there's a distinction on the AI thing. I think the AI in bookkeeping is kind of where the fundamental flaw is in this. AI has its place, and tools like Xero and QBO, and I'm sure Sage have AI built into their or machine learning at a very basic level. But it's when people are saying, hey, bots are doing your bookkeeping, that it's like, well, are they really? That's kind of where it gets a little more challenging.
Yeah. I think we should just always continually try and push for more in terms of everything that we're expecting there. So the accounting profession has traditionally not been diverse or inclusive. Do you think we'll be able to learn from this historic moment in time and actually improve? Or do you worry we'll fall back into our own ways of being white, and this question's coming from Kenji, of being white male-centric?
So I will answer that. So just coming from our diversity talk, we learned that naturally more minorities are being born than white people. So at some point, Caucasians will not be the primary race on this planet. Now, do I think that accounting in general will be more diverse? Not in its traditional sense. If we are looking at the big companies, I think they will predominantly stay the way they are, and there will be a ton of new and engaging firms that value those processes, the diversity, the inclusion, and that are not so traditional. But yeah, I know Michael has a lot to say about this too.
Yeah, I think it's going to take individuals that are intentional about recruiting and hiring, especially at the leadership level. I think it's going to take encouraging people you meet, people of color, especially in the profession, to consider starting their own firms and becoming part of the solution. And I also think it's going to take also change in the communities of color, and the individuals that children see. I don't think I met a single Asian accountant or finance professional growing up, and so if I can't see it, it's very hard to know that it's something that's an option for me. And so it wasn't until I met my brother-in-law, who was dating my sister at the time, and who was the first accountant I met. And he's the one who exposed me to the profession. So it's really people that's in your life. And so, and to this day, I think I'm the only, in my greater family, I'm the only finance and accounting professional that's Asian. So it's really like who are you exposed to, who are your role models are, and can we intentionally engage those spaces to encourage and bring up more people of color into the profession.
And does the change in nature of the profession generally, which I think we'll pick up on in some of the other conversations as well, the fact that the whole role of the accountant is changing. So we have this great opportunity as the role changes and the nature of the kind of work we do, combined with the ability for people to kind of get in front of kids at school and give examples of the fact that it's a broad profession, and we have seen huge leaps forward in terms of the skill sets and everything else that we see in a modern day accountant.
Anything to say there, Rachel?
Well, I was just going to say I completely agree with Nayo's take that this cannot be led by existing large firms. It really needs to be kind of a grassroots thing. So I think anything that we can do to encourage the development of those firms or partner with firms who are getting it right. And then I think, Naya, we've talked about, the education space and how do we get far earlier in the process. Like, we can't just be looking at who are the CPA students. There is so much work that needs to be done so much farther before that to really be making a change in this industry permanently.
And I know in Australia, the associations are putting in special programs and talking to encouraging, nurturing and supporting Indigenous people coming up and through the accounting and bookkeeping profession, because it's very much a skill-based profession and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to surface through to the top. Not we, but people of different diversity and inclusion should be able to surface to the top. So
accounting is also one of those industries that is a second career for people. So, another thing that we do, we keep looking at CPA as the end all be all. And there's so many roles in the accounting field where we can, reach out to different people with different skill sets. Like we talked about AI earlier. So technology plays a huge role in the accounting profession. So we can find more people in accounting just in these different roles, and that aren't young, that are a little older, maybe on a second career, looking for something different and new to do. So that's the other thing. It's just amazing to me because we always look to the big firms as if they are the end all be all. And I'm like, but they're not really servicing the majority of America. They're servicing the larger corporations.
Mm-hmm.
We need to really focus on the smaller businesses, the tax compliance, like all of that work is not going to be done by a big firm. It's going to be done by these smaller organizations that are more diverse, that are in the local communities. So
yeah, absolutely. And people, no matter what they are, want to deal with people that resonate with them. So whatever that be that age diversity, be that ethnic diversity, they want to have those stories and develop those relationships with those people.
And I'm also going to add accessibility. There is a huge, right, making sure that everyone, regardless of ability, is able to access the same information and everything like that. And I think sometimes that group gets left out of the diversity conversations, but I think it's just as important to include them as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So traditional accounting firms have functioned the same way for decades, leveraging the model of partners, managers, seniors, and staff focused on billable hours and utilization rates. What do you think is going to change most dramatically in the way that accounting firms operate in the future?
Can I go on this, Heather? I love this topic. This is great.
Go for it, Will.
So I think the fundamental problem for accounting firms in terms of the traditional model is a thing that we call gross recurring fees. And what it means is that clients just come back every single year. They come back and they pay you again to do the same thing over again. And what this has historically done is set the bar really, really low. So as long as, can I swear? As long as you don't fuck up.
I don't think so. They don't swear in the US.
Back. Oh, do they not? Oh, sorry.
Don't swear.
Sorry, everybody. Don't swear. It's a Brit thing. So as long as you don't mess up, the clients keep coming back. So as it sets the bar really, really low. And that's been the big problem. But now clients have different expectations of what we deliver. And we have to respond to that. So the change is going to come when firms don't deliver what clients want and they go off somewhere else. And that's going to drive the change in what we do as a profession. I'm sorry for swearing.
I think you're going to see more creativity and democratization around firm ownership and firm compensation, where compensation is not centered at the top anymore, which is what the current model does in the traditional firm. Is all the money's basically made by partners, and then you have to grunt yourself your time in order to get all the way up there, and of course that perpetuates the same income and inequality and kind of wealth at the top model we have in America, right, as an economy. So I think you're going to see more creative solutions where you're probably going to see employee-owned accounting firms. You're probably going to see more democratization around that. You're probably going to see firm owners that start and say, "Look, I don't want to benefit from all of that. I actually want to share that because you helped me build the firm." You're going to see creative compensation models where we've seen models where cloud accountants or bookkeepers actually make a percentage of the revenue they manage, which is very new to a new model in the industry and very unique. So I think that some of those things are going to be introduced, and you're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge that I've been seeing over the last several years is even when you see like a cloud tech savvy person creating their own firm, the only part of the model that they're really willing to push the boundaries of and disrupt is the technology piece, is the client, how they serve clients. But then kind of keeping so much of how the firm is organized or how it operates very similar. And to me, all of those things are connected. Like if you are going to dramatically shift the way that you deliver services to clients, you have to, like from top to bottom or bottom to top, whatever. Rip all of that stuff apart. I was going to use a bad word too, Will.
It'll make me feel better if you do, Rachel.
Yeah, but
you inspired me. But just like nothing is sacred, nothing is precious. Just do the right thing. And I think that and too many people that are considering themselves innovative in the accounting space and who have firms, Kenji, no, I'm totally kidding. Don't look at enough of the operating model that they have actually adopted from traditional firms. Like pull that puppy out and reimagine it.
Absolutely.
I wish the time tracking would die. Like as we become more efficient, why are we still tracking time? Like sometimes it takes us longer to build the model. And tracking that time is like, why am I tracking this hour? Like, it's just a pain in my I hate it. And the other thing accountants do is we stick to accountant-centric apps. Expand your thinking. Like, there are tons of apps or technology out there that service other industries. Like you mentioned, being creative. There are tons of apps.
Yeah, like Tinder. Tinder is an app you could try out, right? It's like you don't have to stay with an accounting matchmaking tool. You can try, you know. It's like,
okay, Michael.
Yeah.
Is your wife on this call?
No. I'm just saying. Just thinking creatively here, brainstorming the non-accounting apps.
Okay, so since you brought up Tinder, so think about an app like Fiverr, right? Fiverr just launched business services, and every service is not only $5 now. So if you're an accountant looking for work, you probably can find someone on Fiverr who's looking to hire you because they're on Fiverr, because it's a non-traditional accounting app that does not scare them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I use Fiverr probably every other month. So I will add to that what I see is it's very, very easy to start your own firm and to launch your own firm. And there is some resources from the ACCA that support. They did studies on this. They're seeing a lot of micro practices or gig economies starting up, and they're specifically specializing and niching in their own area. So I know at the start everyone said, hey, we all got to do compliance. I don't do compliance at all. I do management accounting purely. And everyone else, my extended and expert network around me, do the compliance, and I do that other bit in there. So I do see that as a very, but of course, that's another way to go and look at it. So let me move on to the next question. The next time the world goes into chaos, another pandemic or recession, what do accountants need to do differently to better prepare to help small businesses?
Data security. That's the one thing I found that most accountants are doing all wrong. Most of them were not prepared and equipped to take equipment from the office to work from home. I found that there were some colleagues who were working on laptops that didn't have even the simplest thing, virus protection. It's like it comes with your cable. Like that is one thing you can have. Not turning on firewalls, just the data security piece. It's like that is one thing that accountants need to tighten up. Even if you're going to manage everything from your desktop, your data security still needs to be tightened up so that at the blink of an eye, if you need to, you can work from home.
Yeah, I think firms are going to have to. I think firms are going to have to differentiate themselves and the value and the culture they're offering as a remote company now, which many of them have gone remote, or maybe they're hybrid now. They're going to have to differentiate themselves, because if you're one of now 1,000 or 10,000 accounting firms that can do remote work, the remote work alone is not a differentiator anymore, right? It's quickly becoming a standard that you have to be able to do it, especially when a pandemic hits. And so you have to be able to figure out, well, what is the culture I'm building, and why is it unique even in a remote setting? What is the greater vision that I'm calling people to that they feel a part of? And what's the difference? What's the big, long kind of vision and difference I'm going to make in the world, which is what everyone wants to be a part of, making a big difference in the world. So you're going to have to figure that out. And that's something that accountants have been able to stay away from a long time, because really it's the answer has always been serve the client, serve the customer. That's really the only answer. It's like, well, a lot of people are serving customers now. A lot of people can do that. How are you going to differentiate for the employee to make them feel bigger, so they're part of something bigger than themselves?
Yeah, I think for me, it's learning lessons from this crisis and this pandemic. For years, I've been advocating on stages around the world that we need to engage more regularly. We need to have more touch points with clients. We do that because we deliver daily bookkeeping for 60% of our client base. We talk to them at least once a week, and I talked to lots of firms over the lockdown here in the UK. and we'd talk about whether firms were growing and what they were doing. And the general feedback was that we're building really strong goodwill with our clients, more than we've ever had, and they're saying really nice things about us. And when you dig down into why they were getting that feedback, it was pretty obvious. Every 2 weeks, they were speaking to all of their clients and giving them the latest government updates, so the latest news on what financial support was available. So quite simply, by talking to their clients more regularly, they got greater goodwill. It's not rocket science, is it? But how many firms are going to revert back to form and talk to their clients twice a year at best, when they don't have to talk to them every 2 weeks? So I think that's the really big one for me.
Yeah. I don't want to spend a long time answering it, but were you upset, and would you like your accounting professions to have more influence over the government's tax stimulus? We've all got different governments here. Was that an issue? Because in Australia, we were like furious.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, we've. Go on, Rachel.
Sure. So there were, of course, a couple of different programs, or several programs that were trying to target and benefit different, people or business owners at different levels. And I think, though, that this can't be something that you put together at a time like this. I think it's something that you need to establish and go forward so that the entire plan can have some, I was going to say wisdom in it, but it tells you what I think about the Canadian government and how we've been handling things so far. The solution.
Oh, but Justin is so good looking.
Well, that's not a terrible thing. But the solution has been to throw money at people and to keep extending or keep. One thing that I do think the Canadian government has done right in this format or at this time is they've started with a really focused group on who gets what benefit. And then once they see how that's been going, they've kind of continued to almost broaden. And then, or where, too many people were taking advantage, they were able to hone in. And I think that the Canadian government has done that really well. But ultimately, the solution has been to throw money at this. And, all economists are saying, we haven't even seen the beginning of the next shoe drop, right? Is how is this all going to get paid back? And what does this mean for the future of businesses? And some insights there would have been good.
Yeah, I think some advice we could have given our government is don't give the money to people that don't need it, and don't give money to people that will turn around and open up a Robinhood account to do day trading, which flooded the stock market with literally PPP money, which is why the stock market is doing so well. It's because it's been flooded by PPP money, and people don't realize that. Yeah, government money. And so it's like, what are you propping up? You're propping up a lot of people who don't actually need the money, and you're not targeting it enough on people who do need the money, and making the requirements to get the money really so generic that anybody and a dog could get this money, including people who were able to do fraudulent activity with the money pretty quickly. Like, how do you fraud payroll numbers? Well, somehow a lot of people were able to the tune of about $1 billion. So it was really interesting. That I don't know if it's a matter of they just didn't have the time and the fraud numbers are so small they just don't care. But it would have been great to have more advice. But we have the best tax advisor running our country. So
we're in agreement. Our professions, we would have liked them to have had more influence. Yes. So that's good. I'll move on to the next question.
Just so you know, Michael, they are going after those even small fraudulent PPP numbers. It just kind of depends. I've seen people going to jail for $2,500 some odd dollars and having to pay back $8,000 because of the fine on top of the fraud. So
that doesn't help things either. So let me
because of outstanding fines.
Let me move to the next question. Will the accounting profession be disrupted by accounting tech startups like Bench, BotKeeper, Pilot, Scale Factor?
No, they only impact me, someone like me who's focusing on that smaller DIY market, but no, not at all. They're not going to make a dent. These are the clients that the bigger firms are ignoring anyway. So they're all DIYers. This is not going to make a major impact, in my opinion.
Well, it looks like the profession had an impact on Scale Factor because they shut down, and a few others shut down. And I think the profession is big enough to where literally we could have a dozen of these grow to $100 million each, and it wouldn't matter. It literally would not matter because of how big the market size is.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Will and Rachel, do you have anything to comment on that?
I mean, I think that part of the entire issue that is highlighted with companies like that is how difficult it is to scale. And so we've seen this right from, the big four trying to incorporate bookkeeping businesses in their practices, as well as AI-based platforms, trying to take that angle. I think Scale Factor had far bigger problems than COVID. I think they just didn't know what they were doing. Sorry. I think we have some former Scale Factors here in the audience. I appreciate the effort made because I think that it is actually something that's needed, but for some reason it's not getting done right. And I don't know what it is that's missing. If there's some magic potion that Nayo has that she's not sharing, I'm not sure. But to scale that, I do think that, as Nayo was saying about the concentrating on the lower end of the market, I think that as an industry, small business accountants and bookkeepers completely underestimate the size of the micro market. And I think that there are solutions that serve that specifically. I think that paper and pencil and Excel are the biggest competition in that space. So if they can solve for that in a way that sets up that business for success, gets them used to using technology as their practice grows, bring it on. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think for me, the only thing we need to be very conscious of is where the end game is for the QBOs and the zeros of this world, and much of that is about end-to-end delivery for clients. So that's not a problem. I think that's great. It will raise the awareness of the work that we do as a profession. But we need to be really clear in terms of where our differentiator is. I think Rachel mentioned earlier, it's about how we align the value proposition and so on. So I think that we just need to be conscious of what their end game might be.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Will. I can see everyone getting distracted. There's something funny happening in the chat area. A year ago, QB Live was the hottest topic of conversation in our profession in the US. Today, I've barely heard a peep out of it. This is Kenji's words. Were we all freaking out for nothing? So is Kenji freaking out for nothing? Has QB Live not worked for Intuit, or are they stealthily taking over the profession and no one realizes it? Take it away.
They are not taking over the profession and realizing it. However, they are figuring it out, right? Intuit has that money where they can actually test things for a long time at a loss, right? Some of us can't afford to do that. And so now they're realizing that there are some steps they need to do before they actually bring client on for QB Live bookkeeping. But people are now figuring out like, oh, they aren't taking the clients that I wanted. They're only taking the clients that I didn't want anyway because they're too needy, or they wanted to do it themselves, or they asked me a bunch of questions. So these are all the people that I serve, right? So if anybody should have been worried, it was me. And when I wasn't worried, I was hoping everybody else was like, oh, we shouldn't have to worry about this. Nayo's cool as a fan. But for whatever reason, they upset a million people. People took it personally. They're like, oh my God, Intuit's coming after my clients. They're advertising to my clients. They advertise to your clients anyway. They have a freaking Super Bowl commercial. Like we all saw the All People Are Tax People commercial. Like they're not going away. They're a partner, but we are not, as accountants, their primary source of revenue. It is the DIY market. So they're trying to best serve their client. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as we start understanding and realizing that they're best trying to serve their clients, not ours. So, and I know, Michael, you lost the client to Live. I hope they came back by now.
I think they went out of business.
I think I remember a stat because it was so phenomenal. In the UK, we have about 5 million small businesses, and I think at San Jose last year, somebody said that there's 21 million small businesses in the US that are not connected to an advisor, and we've only got 5 million in the whole of the UK. And I'm sure that has got even less in Australia. So it highlights the scale. it just highlights the scale of the market in the US. And I think I made a point a moment ago. It's almost that when QB Live said they were going to do this, I thought, hell yeah, that's great, because they're going to promote the bookkeeping proposition for the rest of us who are going to do it far better. And actually, if we get the processes right, we can probably do it as cost effectively as well. They're treading slowly in the UK. It hasn't been launched yet in the UK. And I think it's because it's so evenly balanced in the UK between Xero and QBO that Xero would have a field day with it if QBO rolled it out in the wrong way in the UK.
Absolutely. I am waiting for Kenji to respond to me, but he's not there.
We'll just keep going.
Michael, we just lost Michael. Let me ask, will the US be the last country to step into the future because the US can't get rid of paper checks?
Yes.
And there was another bit to that question, wasn't there, as well, Heather, about whether Australia really leads the world, or if it's all.
Oh, that was
true.
That was another question. Of course it does, but I am conscious of time. Okay. So in terms of does Australia and New Zealand lead the world, it does come down to our simplicity of our infrastructure, in that Australia has 4 high street banks, New Zealand has 6 high street banks. We have good broadband connection in the main cities, and we have highly intelligent people, and thus we are the petri dishes for testing new technology, and that's why we are leading the way in that respect. So we're almost the beta testers for the rest of the world. When you have such different infrastructures in the US across just different states, like that's just been what's astonished me, that you can't even close your state borders and things like that. That is interesting. But thank you very much. I would like to hand back to Kenji.
So because Michael Lee did tell everyone that I was his father, apparently I figured that it'd be okay if I took over his spot on this. All of you, including Michael, I mean, you guys are amazing. This has been, I told everybody at Acuity, we like taking risks. If this isn't taking a risk, right? You bring dear friends on, you let them talk about anything and everything. You let them tease each other. Some of our tech partners, honestly, that's what it's all about. That is actually what.
And Will swore, and so did Rachel.
Almost. I didn't. Yeah, I did.
All of you are amazing. I mean, again, I just cannot thank you guys enough from all the Acuity team members, but I'll say from me personally, you all are really such dear friends. I'm so grateful personally for you to come on and do this. You guys are just amazing. And this is by far the most fun panel or session I've ever been to. Very, very exciting. Everyone else at Acuity, we're officially wrapped for day 1. So feel free to hang out here and hop in, text with Michael Lee, make fun of him, all the different things we need to do. I'm sure he'll be on here for hours, all night long. Michael will be on here. Day 2 tomorrow starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. Few short announcements we're going to have, and then we're going to jump into the expo with all of our amazing tech partners throughout the day. And then we have our fun kind of family event at the end of the day. Once again, I just have to say again to Will and Heather and Rachel and Nayo and even Michael, I'm so grateful for all of you. Thanks for all this. Heather in particular, you're the one who said, you know what?
Thanks for
give me the questions,
Kenji.
I'm gonna go with this. So thank you so much, my friends. You're awesome.
Thank you very much
Great
for the
job,
opportunity, Kenji.
Heather, you're awesome. Great.
Thanks, guys.
You guys, thanks.
Have a great night, everybody.